Hi, welcome to Techwire, a conversation about public policy, technology, and our fast-changing digital world. I'm your host, Michelle Kennedy. Thanks for tuning in. Today I have with me Technology Agency Secretary Carlos Ramos, one of Governor Brown's top advisors who's responsible for overseeing the use of technology in state government. The state of California has a $5 billion a year industry that includes hardware and software projects, systems, companies, consultants, and of course, state personnel. Secretary Ramos' agency plays a key role in overseeing multi-million-dollar projects. He also sets the direction and agenda for agencies to use technology that will help provide services to the people of the Golden State. Lately, there have been a number of IT projects in the news, and the agency has some exciting tech initiatives underway. I'm pleased to spend the next few minutes discussing all of this with our guest. Secretary Ramos, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, great. So before we get started, for our viewers that are not familiar with your agency, can you tell us what the mission is?
Sure. The mission of our agency primarily is to help California and guide the government in terms of its use of technology. Fundamentally, we set policy. We provide oversight for the way different agencies invest in technology and use technology, and really try to set a strategy and a direction for the state to better use technology to connect with its citizens and to serve consumers of government services.
Okay. As I mentioned, there have been some major projects that have either stalled or fallen behind in some way. When it comes to oversight of these projects in various departments, how does your agency fit in?
So we play a very unique and important role. We have a perspective, a statewide perspective of the different technology initiatives and issues in California. From an oversight perspective, we're involved in all phases and all aspects of technology projects. Right up front, we do the approvals of projects before they launch. Once the projects are in flight, we provide oversight, guidance, and coaching, as it were, to the teams that are in the process of deploying those projects, whether they're on the vendor side or on the state side. And then we also play a very important role when projects go off track. We work with the state departments to get them back on track, and at times we actually have to step in and intercede if we see something is seriously off the rails.
Okay. Now, last year, Assemblymember Buchanan authored legislation to improve the way the state procures IT goods and services. I know an effort was also kicked off by the administration to review and improve how IT procurement is done. Can you share with us where you're at with that process?
Sure. There are a number of interconnected efforts underway. AB 1498 by Assemblymember Buchanan did ask the administration to look at ways of improving our performance and our outcomes from technology procurements. We did launch a work group. It was made up of state folks from across the spectrum, folks that work in the technology space, folks that work in the contracting and procurement space, and then folks that run technology projects to come together and to figure out a new model, if you will, for how to do procurements going forward. We reached out and talked to members of the vendor community and other stakeholders to say, okay, what do you see as potential areas of opportunity to improve the way we do technology? We've developed a report with some recommendations on actual improvements, and that report should be forthcoming relatively soon, in which we're going to report to the legislature, here's the administration's plan on how to improve procurements. Separate and apart from that effort, though, the Department of General Services has undertaken a number of different efforts to try and make things better just in the model that we currently have. So, for example, when we get into contracts with different vendors or different companies, we use a set of model terms and conditions specifically geared around technology. So the Department of General Services has again reached out to the vendor community and said, okay, how do we make these better? Make them better for you as vendors so that you can come in and bid and compete on our projects. And then for us as a state, how do we leverage the terms and conditions to develop contracts that are actually workable as we roll out new technology initiatives? So that effort has been going on for a couple of months now. They've made some pretty good progress, and I think are going to be coming out with a new set of model terms and conditions that I think are going to greatly improve the outcomes in the technology procurement space.
What are some of the, you've talked about improving the process, what are some of the specific problems that have occurred with vendors that there's a need for improvement for?
I guess the way I would say it is, in terms of procurements, there's a couple of pretty common complaints that we get. One is that it takes a long time to do procurements in California. It's really expensive. At times it almost limits the competition of who can actually stay in the race long enough to compete on California procurements. For the vendors, it makes it difficult to, for example, to propose a team of experts and then keep them all on the bench for a long period of time that it takes to complete a procurement. California being as large of an entity as it is, our procurements tend to be very complex, our initiatives tend to be large undertakings. So that in itself is kind of inherently risky. Other challenges that we've had in the area of procurements is sometimes the technology industry evolves very quickly. Everything from the type of technology that we're buying and deploying to even the way that technology is bought and sold and licensed. So keeping up with that from a contractual perspective, keeping up with it from the ability of saying we're planning to deploy a certain, or develop and deploy a certain type of technology, but 2 or 3 years down the road when it actually comes time to deliver, that technology could have evolved completely. So part of what our efforts are aimed at is reducing the length of time it takes to run our procurements, being able to leverage the innovation that happens naturally in the technology field by getting to market quicker, and then putting in place good substantive contracts that allow us to have a very productive relationship with our vendor partners.
So it sounds like you're juggling a lot. It's trying to balance the technology and making people happy.
Well, it is. It's trying to balance the technology. It's trying to keep, not necessarily make people happy, but make sure we have good outcomes on our contracts and our procurements, and then also keep a lot of bidders in the mix. What we find is that there's great benefit to having a robust competition. You have better options in terms of selecting everything from the technology alternatives, usually better pricing, and you really get to see the gamut of the innovation that is possible. But fundamentally, all of that really is aimed at making sure that California leverages 21st century technology to be able to serve its citizens.
Okay. More than ever, Californians are using their mobile phones to do everything from finding restaurants to booking travel, conducting business, and everything in between. How is the state adapting to the explosion of the use of the smartphone?
Sure. Well, and that's an excellent example of really government trying to serve consumers where they're at, and by leveraging 21st century technology. Everybody has a mobile phone now. Most people have mobile devices, tablet devices, and they use those to conduct their day-to-day business, whether it's banking or entertainment or pretty much anything. Government is trying to move very rapidly into that place to where we can serve consumers the way that they want to be served in a mobile environment. So to that end, I'm very pleased to say California is the first state in the nation to actually launch its own version of a mobile app store. We have the California Mobile Gallery, where departments are able to take their services and transactions that they offer folks and put them online, but not only just online, but in a mobile platform, so you can access them from a tablet device or from a smartphone. The neat part about it is those apps. We've developed resources and templates that make it easy for departments to put stuff online or put them in the mobile gallery, but they leverage some of the unique capacities of smartphones, such as GPS. So for example, if let's say you're traveling through California, you want to see traffic conditions. You can go on, there's an app for that. You can find out traffic conditions and it'll know based on your phone what your location is and tell you what's around. Or if you're looking for a campsite or interested in finding a DMV office or whatever it is, you can find that through the mobile apps that we have. The other thing that we're doing, and I guess in recognition of the ubiquity of mobile devices, we're even doing things like changing the way that emergency calls are routed, 911 calls. With more and more people calling through mobile devices, it becomes much more challenging to identify what's the location of the person actually making the call.
Right.
With a traditional landline, it's pretty easy because you know the address of the house. With a mobile phone, that became more challenging. So we've undertaken an effort to change the way we route those calls so that rather than routing all mobile calls to the CHP, which we used to do, What we do now is we identify what's the closest cell tower where that call originated, and then route the call to the closest dispatch center. And so that could be a CHP dispatch center, it could be local police or county sheriff's offices. So it's a way of just serving consumers better.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Secretary, for taking the time today to help our viewers across California better understand the state's technology program and perhaps what we can expect in the future.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to Techwire, where we focus on the intersection of government, technology, and California's digital transformation. I'm Michelle Kennedy. Thanks for watching.